MTV Channel Private Limited to countersue George Stewart Health Private Limited for 20 billion rupees for damages and loss caused by wrongful, malicious and unjustified actions. State Minister Rear Admiral Sarath Veerasekara appointed as the Minister of Public Security. Police and Civil Security Department assigned to the newly gazetted ministry.
පාතාලේ සම්බන්ධ වෙලා තියෙන අය ඉන්නවා නම් ඒ අයට අපි ආරාධනා කරනවා යහපත් සමාජයට ඇවිල්ලා ඒ තමාගේ දිනදා කටයුතු කරන්න කියලා.
India's National Security Advisor Shri Ajit Doval and Maldivian Defence Minister Honorable Maria Didi scheduled to arrive in the island tomorrow. Illegal residents in Balagasva were evicted. Protests staged against the demolition of a house. Sena caterpillar raises its head once again.
Very good evening and welcome to Primetime News here on TV1. You're joining me, Debbie Faldano, and our sign interpreter for tonight, Brian De Cruz, who is joining us via Zoom. Now, on to your top story this night. MTV Channel Private Limited is to countersue George Stewart's Health Private Limited for 20 billion rupees.
MTV Channel Private Limited has sent a reply through its attorney at law, Mr. G.G. Arupragasam, to a letter of demand sent by the attorney at law for George Stewart Health Private Limited. In the said reply on behalf of MTV Channel Private Limited, it has been stated that MTV Channel Private Limited will countersue George Stewart Health Private Limited for 20 billion rupees for damages and loss caused to MTV Channel Private Limited for the wrongful, malicious and unjustified actions of George Stewart Health Private Limited. On the 23rd of November, Newsfirst reported that George Stewart Health Private Limited had obtained an ex parte enjoining order against MTV Channel Private Limited, preventing it from making any defamatory content against George Stewart Health Private Limited and its chairman or key employees in a case filed with regard to the importation of rapid antigen test kits to Sri Lanka. We further reported that George Stewart Health Private Limited had instituted action in the District Court of Colombo and obtained an ex parte enjoining order well prior to MTV Channel Private Limited receiving the letter of demand by courier.
Retired Rear Admiral Sarath Veerasekara took oaths as the Minister of Public Security before President Gotabaya Rajapaksa today.
Sarath Veerasekara took oaths as the Minister of Public Security at the Presidential Secretariat this morning. Accordingly, several institutions, including the Police Department and the Civil Security Department, will come under the purview of Minister Sarath Veerasekara. Minister Sarath Veerasekara is a distinguished officer who served as the Rear Admiral of the Sri Lanka Navy. He has also served as the Director General of the Civil Security Department. After taking oaths, Minister Sarath Veerasekara arrived at the Ganga Rame temple in Colombo and engaged in religious observances.
මගේ විෂයපතේ තියෙන්නේ සීලුම මංකොල්ලකෑම් මිනිමරුම් විශ්ව දූෂණ අපරාධ නවත්තන එක.
As the Minister of Public Security, I will be in charge of ensuring the eradication of theft, murder, rape, extremism and terrorism in the country, eradicating drug trafficking in the country and putting a stop to antisocial activities such as drug usage, particularly at schools, will also be my responsibility. Eliminating child abuse and violence against women is another task that will come under my purview. I invite those involved in underworld activities to come forward and reform themselves to be better people, to build a society where people can live without fear or suspicion in the future. The underworld must be completely eradicated.
Meanwhile, Chamal Rajapaksa took oaths as the State Minister of State Security, Home Affairs and Disaster Management today.
The expenditure heads of the Ministry of Agriculture and several other ministries and state ministries were debated in Parliament today. Now, these were some of the views that were expressed. A gazette was issued capping the maximum retail price of sugar at 65 rupees a kilo. However, it is being sold at 120 rupees in the market. The special commodity levy of 50 rupees on imported sugar was lifted recently. As a result, the government lost 7 billion rupees in tax revenue. The tax was lifted on the 30th of October. A company named Wilma that is linked to the Shangri-La company then imported 36,000 tons of sugar on the 2nd of November. Has this happened in Sri Lanka before? As a result of lifting the tax, the government lost revenue, while the people did not receive financial relief. Ultimately, a few businessmen earned profits. They imported sugar at 80 rupees a kilo and are selling them at 120 rupees. We wish to question the government on who is benefiting through this. While the rice mafia continues to exist, a sugar mafia has also been created. The Agriculture Ministry has issued a letter to release 5,000 acres of state land to the Avant-Garde company for the cultivation of 40,000 acres of corn. This shows that large-scale companies are acquiring lands in the country. I have the letter with me. I would appreciate if the land was not given to them, but the letter in my possession shows that the ministry has ordered the allocation of 5,000 acres of land to the Avant-Garde company to implement a pilot project for the cultivation of 40,000 acres of corn. Should we offer state lands to private companies? 5,000 acres of land adjacent to the Somavatiya National Park was offered to the US-based Dole company. 1,800 acres of land near the Palavata Sugar Company was also offered to the Dole company. If this continues, will the future generation have access to land in the country? The young generation of farmers do not have lands to cultivate as well. They do not have lands to at least construct houses. If the agriculture sector is to be developed in the country, lands must be made available for the young generation. They must not be offered to the Avant-Garde or US-based Dole company for various projects. Minister S.M. Chandrasena attempted to gazette 22,500 acres of land in Kantale. The entire land was given away to a company. It belongs to the farmers of our country. Farmers cultivated sugarcane across 2.5 acres targeting the Kantale sugar factory. That land belongs to 11,000 farmers. Minister S.M. Chandrasena operated the bulldozer in favor of the company and not the farmers. The practice of giving away state land to companies must stop.
එනිසා මේ ඉඩම් නැවත සමාගම් මත මේ ඉඩම් පැවරීම නතර කරන්න ඕන. එතන ඉන්නවා ඇමතිවරු 5 දෙනෙක් මේ කෘෂිකර්ම ශාස්ත්‍රයේට. මහින්දානන්ද ඇමතුමා, හේරත් ඇමතුමා, අපේ සිරිපාල ගම්ලත් මහත්මයා, අනුරාධ.
There are 5 ministers related to the agriculture industry in this house, including Mahindanand Alutgamage, Kanaka Herath, Siripala Gamlat and Anuradha Jaratna. We were under the impression that Mahindananda Alutgamage is a close contact of Mahinda Rajapaksa's cluster. But based on the ministry and the subjects that he has received, we understand that he has been distanced from the group. When 24 billion was allocated for his ministry, we saw that the allocation of 18 billion was made for Shashindra Rajapaksa. Our state minister for fertilizer has been allocated 32 billion. You only have 3 state bodies under your purview. The state minister for paddy, Shashindra Rajapaksa, has 6 institutions under his belt. The state fertilizer minister and D.B. Herath have 4 institutions each. I am speaking in support of you. I know that you are a capable person. The government has used you to fulfill their objectives while sidelining you from their circle.
කොවිඩ් ගැන ප්‍රචාරය කරන්න ළඟව ආශ්‍රිත පවුලට අරගෙන නැහැ. විවේචන තිබුණා, අදහස් තිබුණා.
Accusations, opinions and proposals were put forward in the House. We will consider all of them in our attempt to uplift this industry. The primary objective of our ministry is to formulate a national policy for agriculture. We hope to finalize that in a year. By providing farmers with fertilizer and the required technology, we expect to witness the production of chili, potato and onion seeds required by the country in 3 years. Give us some time. Rice is not being sold at the stipulated rates in the market and we are publishing gazettes to counter this problem. Several accusations were leveled against the government regarding paddy. To stop these allegations from being leveled during next year's budget debate, the ministry has decided to purchase 1,000 kilos of paddy from all farmers who receive fertilizer free of charge. We need to counter the monopoly on rice. To do that, we should have paddy stocks in our possession. Therefore, we will purchase them from farmers and establish a standard purchasing price for farmers and a ceiling price for consumers. Certain opposition parliamentarians lamented that only few institutions are under my purview. Therefore, I appreciate the opposition for speaking on behalf of my worries. But remember that we only have one cabinet minister for this subject. I and Chamal Rajapaksa did not face several accusations. Therefore, let us join hands to uplift the agriculture industry regardless of our political differences.
නගා සිටවන්න අපි ඔක්කොම එකට එක්ක අහුවෙලා කටයුතු කරමු කියන එක යෝජනා කරමින් මම නිහඬ වෙනවා. බොහොම ස්තුතියි.
Meanwhile, officials took action this afternoon to evict a group of people who had illegally occupied the Mahadali lands in the Belgaswaga Gramalidari division of the left bank of the Valada River in Hambantota.
රාත්‍රියේ පදුගේ වලල අපිට කියලා බින්ගකලක් නෑ. ඒක මම කිව්වා. අම්බලන්තර ප්‍රාදේශීයකම්කාරය හම්බන්තර ප්‍රාදේශීයකම් ආන්නේ කියලා අපිට කියලා බින්ගකලක් නෑ.
මේ මගේ අක්කා මේකේ පදුගේ වලල ඉන්නේ. 36 පදුගේ සල්ලි දෙන්න ඕනේ. සල්ලි නැහැ දෙන්නේ හොඳයි. අපිට කාර්යයට බහින්නේ කිව්වා. ඒක නිසා මෙතන ටිකොලන් ගහලා හදාගත්ත ගේ කැල්ල හොඳයි. මේක කැඩුවා හිතක් පපුවක් නෑ මුන්ට.
දැන් තමයි අයිතිකාරයන්ටයි මහවැලියට ඇස්සා කියලා තියෙන්නේ දැන්.
ඡන්දය ගන්න කට්ටිය දෙන්නේ කියන්නේ මෙතන ඡන්ද දෙන්න. අපි ඡන්ද නෙවෙයි පොලු පාරවල් දෙන්නේ.
අපි දේශපාලනේ හැමතැනම සයින් ගිහින් තියලා. උඩාව යන්නේ නෙවෙයි. ඕක වැඩක් නෙවෙයි.
හරි අවුලන්න ජනේජ එකයි මේ ගැලෝටි ගලවන්න මම සල්ලි විදන් කරලා නේ තියෙන්නේ මම.
දරුවෝ 3 දෙනෙක් කියලා සිමෙන්ති ඇදලා මහත්තයෝ ජීවත් වෙන්නේ අහන්න මහන.
The Lawyers Forum for the People convened a media briefing in Colombo today. Several incidents that have taken place recently have raised concerns over the implementation of the law. We saw people under the rule of law being murdered outside the country's legal framework. This had taken place in several areas. Ultimately, these murderers were interpreted in many ways. While death row prisoners who served short terms were released from prison, inmates who have been appealing for clemency for at least 10 or 15 years have not been granted that chance. On the 19th of November, Anusha Palpita and Lalit Viratunga were acquitted by court. In the evening, Johnston Fernando's sealed liquor brewery was allowed to reopen. On 20th, the indictments filed against Minister Janaka Bandara were dismissed. On the same day, a former chairman of the Lakpohora Fertilizer Company were granted bail. On the 21st, the government offered 5,000 acres of state land for the owner of the Avantgarde Company to cultivate corn. On the 23rd, Basil Rajapaksa's foreign travel ban was lifted. On the 24th, was appointed to the Public Services Commission. The same day, the appeal court quashed the summons issued on Gotabaya Rajapaksa in the case involving the Lalit Kugan disappearance case. Pillayan was also released on the same day. I am not suggesting that the court is delivering the wrong verdicts. However, there is a legal concept that court not only must justice be done, it must also be seen to be done. If allies of the Rajapaksas are appointed to independent commissions, it will not be independent in its true sense. Observe the individuals who are being released. It is their henchmen who are willing to support the government to the utmost level. Individuals who fed chicken to cats are being given priority. They are receiving state lands to cultivate corn. The person who fed chicken to cats is in prison. He is likely to be released very soon. The Frontline Socialist Party convened a media briefing today.
Although the government has not fulfilled its promises, it carried out many other activities during the past week. The chairman of the Avantgarde Company, who financially abused migrant workers and was involved in an illegal arms trade, was given 5,000 acres of land by the government to cultivate corn. On the 24th, the Jaffna Magistrates Court quashed the summons issued on Gotabaya Rajapaksa in the case involving the disappearance of Lalit and Kugan. We will file an appeal challenging the order in this case. We heard this morning that on the 30th of this month, the court is set to decide on whether or not to acquit Basil Rajapaksa over the misuse of funds belonging to the Divinagama department. Therefore, we have a clear understanding of what is going on. Former Judge Eva Vanasundara has been appointed as the chair of the commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption. She has explained her appointment as a Supreme Court judge in an interview with the Desha weekend newspaper. The former judge had conceded that Mahinda Rajapaksa is a close friend of hers and that he had asked him to drop by at Temple Trees while returning home after completing work at the Attorney General's department. When she visited Temple Trees, she was appointed as a Supreme Court judge. This was a level of friendship she had described during the interview. It is this person who has been appointed as the chair of the commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption. We can understand what is going on. During the committee stage debate of the 20th Amendment, they inserted a provision to increase the number of appeal court and Supreme Court judges. This provision did not exist in the draft constitution. It was inserted during the committee stage debate. Accordingly, the number of Supreme Court judges was increased by 6 and appeal court judges by 8. 6 appeal court judges were transferred to the Supreme Court. This left behind 6 appeal court judges of the total of 12. The president then appointed 14 new judges to the appeal court. Accordingly, there are 20 appeal court judges at present. However, only 6 of them were old appointments.
ජනාධිපතිවරයා විසින් නම් කරා. දැන් අභියාචන අධිකරණයේ ඉන්න 20 දෙනාගේ විනිශ්චයකාරවරු 6 දෙනා ඉන්නේ කලින් ඉඳලා හිටපු අය.
Convening a media briefing today, former Speaker Karujai Surya expressed his views about the current situation in the country.
සාමාන්‍ය බරිට පත්වන ඕනෑම ආණ්ඩුවක පළවෙනි වසර සැලකන්නේ ජනතාවගේ බරපතල විවේචනයන්ට ලක් නොවන ජනමාධ්‍ය රජ අතර.
The first year following the election of a new government is considered as a calm and peaceful period, where the ruling party does not face criticism from the general public and where there is no conflict between the government and media. However, this has not been the case in our country. This is very disappointing. The dark forces that existed in the past are reappearing. This is what disappointed us the most. Another concern is the rising number of threats against the citizens of this country who express their views via social media platforms. Several incidents were reported in the recent past where individuals were arrested for expressing their views about the COVID-19 situation in the country. The international community has also learned about this unfortunate situation. The UK government last week had issued a statement in this regard. The statement reads that the UK government has identified 30 countries that are working against individuals with opposing views. We agree that curbing the COVID-19 health pandemic is a priority. We also agree that the dissemination of false information regarding the virus, which creates fear among the general public, should be prevented. The government should put in place a proper mechanism that would ensure accurate information is delivered to the general public. The government must choose the right way forward. If one is attempting to govern this country by suppressing and weakening the media, they will also be compelled to face the consequences.
යම් අයෙක් බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා නම් එහි ප්‍රතිවිකාවක් මිසකම වලට මුහුණ දෙන්න සිද්ධ වෙනවා.
Parliamentarian SP Disanayake responded to accusations levelled against the government by political and civil activists.
State institutions are involved in heavy competition to publish advertisements promoting the President and the Prime Minister on newspapers, television and radio channels. As this is causing a massive wastage of state funds, a circular was issued preventing advertisements from being given to the media to mark the President's or Prime Minister's birthdays. It does not categorically declare that advertisements cannot be given to private media outlets. The government is facing a massive wave of allegations. We can observe that the Lanka company has been granted 5,000 acres of land. The land was offered based on the request of a private businessman. Lanka company generated huge revenue to the country by becoming the world's leading company in maritime security. A few politicians joined hands and destroyed this business due to personal motives. I wish to state that this company offered jobs to thousands of retired soldiers and paid them salaries. An allegation levelled against Basil Rajapaksa is that he had distributed pipes during a provincial council election. However, this does not involve fraud. These pipes were procured under an open tender procedure and handed over to Pradesha Sabhas. Nothing wrong has been committed. Other allegations include the printing of almanacs with the photograph of the president using the funds of the Social Security Board. As I was the individual who implemented this, I know that there was nothing wrong in doing that. I wish to state that these cases were filed against us based on political motives.
මේ සියලුම නඩු දේශපාලන වශයෙන් පරිගන්න බොරුවට පටලවපු නඩු කියන කාරණේ මේ වෙලාවේ මම කියන්න කැමතියි.
The parliamentarian also expressed his remarks on Basil Rajapaksa.
Basil Rajapaksa has been entrusted with the Presidential Task Force on Economic Revival and Poverty Eradication. He was the Economic Development Minister during the golden era of Sri Lanka's economy. If he can provide economic leadership as a member of the government instead of being on the sidelines, that would be a great strength for the poor and also the country's development. I feel that will take place during the next cabinet reshuffle. The Sri Lanka Podujana Peramana was built on his sweat and commitment. The decision on granting bail to former director of the Criminal Investigation Department SSP Shani Abesekara and Sub-Inspector Sugat Mohana Mendes, who are currently remanded, is scheduled to be delivered on the 7th of December.
A legal team, including President's Counsel Vasantha Navaratna and Attorney-at-Law Chamindatu Korala, submitted a bail application to the High Court requesting the duo be released on bail. Responding to the bail application, Deputy Solicitor General Shanil Kularatna presented facts before the High Court. Gampaha High Court No. 1 Judge Nimal Ranavira, who considered facts presented by both parties, announced the decision will be delivered on the 7th of December. The Human Rights Commission of Sri Lanka, in a letter, has urged the Commissioner General of Prisons to take necessary preventive measures to protect the life of Shani Abesekara, who was found infected with the COVID-19 virus. The letter was issued concerning a complaint received by the Commission on a possible life threat to SSP Shani Abesekara with the infection of COVID-19. The letter further recommends the Commissioner General Tushara Upuldania to immediately transfer him to the nearest hospital treating people infected with the virus. The letter also requests the Prisons Commissioner General to send the Human Rights Commission on his observances about the matter and details of actions taken in response, including the preventive measures adopted before the 30th of this month.
විශේෂයෙන්ම ශානි අබේසේකර කියන අපේ හිටපු අපරාධ පරීක්ෂණ දෙපාර්තමේන්තු අධ්‍යක්ෂවරයා ලංකාවේ හිටපු හොඳම අපරාධ විමර්ශකයා.
The former director of the CID, Shani Abesekara, is in remand prison today because he was involved in investigations against the Rajapaksas. Family members of Shani Abesekara feared that the former CID will be attacked. I have revealed this matter before. The accused factions in the cases Shani Abesekara looked into are allies of the Rajapaksa government. Shani Abesekara is the chief witness in many of these cases. Shani Abesekara has tested positive for COVID-19. Did he contract the virus, or was he purposely exposed to the virus? Sufficient protection has not been provided to Shani Abesekara, and if proper measures are not taken, he may fall victim to the virus. We urge the government to take proper action. It has come to a stage where our accusations are being proved.
ඒක නිසා අපි ආණ්ඩුවෙන් කියනවා මේ සම්බන්ධ ඉතාමත් පියවර ගත යුතුයි. අපේ තියෙන චෝදනාව ඔප්පු වෙන මට්ටමට ඇවිල්ලා තියෙනවා.
A group has requested the Attorney General to support the Criminal Investigation Department's former director Shani Abesekara, who is in remand custody. A group including Ahimsa Vikramatunga had written to Attorney General Dappula de Oliveira expressing dismay over the treatment of the Criminal Investigation Department's former director Shani Abesekara. In the letter, the group pointed out that the Attorney General's department was able to lead evidence over several cases in courts due to the investigations carried out by the former CID director. They also observed that the former CID director has been arrested based on contradictory statements made by witnesses in a murder case that was resolved years ago. Citing that Abesekara has now contracted COVID-19 in remand custody, the group observed that certain powerful individuals are acting to take his life. They insisted that police officers will not investigate serious atrocities in the future if the Attorney General's department does not stand with the former CID director, even at a time when his life is in danger.
Contradictory opinions regarding Sri Lanka's economy were expressed today.
Attending an event to carpet the Megoda Dompe Beru Kattiya Road with tar made from 3 tons of plastic waste, Minister Bandula Gunawardena expressed his views about Sri Lanka's debt repayments.
We are facing a massive financial crisis. No government has faced such an imminent crisis since independence. The short-sighted and reckless decisions of the former regime led to the government obtaining more commercial debt via the issuance of international sovereign bonds. This has increased our foreign debt stock. We are now compelled to repay the capital plus interest of $4.5 billion annually until the end of 2029. People do not understand the impact of an outflow of $4.5 billion. The Hambantota port was sold to China for $1.4 billion. We have to pay $4.5 billion every year as debt and interest repayment. It is hard to imagine how we are going to service our debt commitments. If the debt crisis is within the country, we can always print money into the system. Money printing may lead to an increase in inflation, but we could have dealt with it. However, we cannot print US dollars. we need to earn foreign currencies. The main source of foreign currency inflows was the tourism industry. But today, due to COVID-19, all airports have been closed. The supply chain of our major exports have been disrupted.
සංචාරකයෝ එක්කෙනෙක්වත් ලංකාවට එන්නේ ලෝකේ රටවල් වල ගුවන් තොටුපළවල් වහල්. ඊළඟට අපේ ප්‍රධාන අපනයන ද්‍රව්‍ය වල සැපියුම් ජාලය අඩපණ වෙලා තියෙනවා.
Despite the views expressed by Minister Bandula Gunawardena, the central bank had this to say about Sri Lanka's debt repayment ability.
With the expected bilateral and multilateral support in the near future, official reserves are projected to strengthen in the period ahead, and Sri Lanka will be in a comfortable position to face the scheduled debt service payments in 2021, as it did in 2020 and in the past. The ongoing and expected monetary and fiscal support will help the recovery of the economy. Already, the policy measures taken thus far have resulted in low interest rates and a pickup in credit growth.
A group of residents in Vanathamulla staged a protest citing that the 5,000 rupee allowance granted by the government is not sufficient.
A group of residents from Halgahavatta in Vanathamulla staged the protest. They charged that the authorities have not inquired into their well-being after the area was declared as an isolated area. They added that they have to purchase goods for higher prices as the area is declared as an isolated area. Thereafter, OIC of the Boralla police arrived at the location. The OIC then contacted the divisional secretary of Tibirigasaya over the phone.
Oh, madam.
The protesters then put forward their issues to the divisional secretary and dispersed.
Meanwhile, according to the Epidemiology Unit of the Ministry of Health, 342 COVID-19 cases were identified today. 369 COVID-19 patients were discharged today after they made a full recovery. The total number of recoveries in the country stands at 15,816. 5,557 patients are receiving treatment at hospitals. The total number of COVID-19 cases in the country rose to 21,469 today. 2 COVID-19 related deaths were reported. Now on to one of the headline-making stories. India's National Security Advisor Shri Ajit Doval is scheduled to arrive in Sri Lanka tomorrow. The National Security Advisor is expected to participate in a trilateral meeting between Sri Lanka, India and the Maldives.
This is Ajit Doval's second visit to Sri Lanka this year. In a release, military spokesperson and Director of Media, Brigadier Chandan Wickramasinghe said, on the invitation of Secretary to the Ministry of Defence, India's National Security Advisor, Ajit Doval, and Maldivian Defence Minister Maria Didi are expected to lead senior-level delegations to attend the trilateral meeting, while delegations from Bangladesh, Mauritius and Seychelles are expected to participate as observers. The high-level engagement that covers a wide range of subjects is designed to initiate collective action on maritime security, including maritime domain awareness, legal regimes, training, search and rescue, maritime pollution response, information sharing, drugs, arms and contraband trafficking in the Indian Ocean region. Spokesperson Brigadier Chandan Wickramasinghe added that the heads of delegation are also scheduled to conduct bilateral meetings on the sidelines of the trilateral meeting.
Now on to some tragic sports news. Diego Maradona, widely regarded as one of the greatest football players of all time, passed away yesterday at his home in Argentina after suffering a heart attack. Now on to one of your another top headline making stories. Crops in 3 villages in the Ampara district have been affected by farmers who suspect that they are fall army worms.
Cornfields across 3 villages in the Ampara district are being invaded by what farmers suspect are fall army worms. The Lahugala, Hulannuge and Mahakalugolla villages have seen cornfields extending over 2,000 acres. Although the expanse of the fields signal a great harvest, farmers say that their hopes have turned into despair this year. According to these farmers, fall army worms have already destroyed around 500 acres of their cornfields.
ඇයි දන්නවද මේ වාගේ මේ පණු කරදරේ දැන් අවුරුදු 3කටත් වැඩි අපිට තියෙනවා. වෙන අවුරුදු වලට වැඩිය වැඩිම පණු හානියක් තියෙන්නේ මේ අවුරුද්ද. පණු වලට තෙල් ගහනවා. තෙල් ගහුවට කිසිම විසඳුමක් නැහැ.
ඒ දලුබ මේ ඉන්නේ. මම නම් කියන්නේ බීජ වල මේක තියෙන්නේ. නැත්තම් මීට කලින් මේ ඉරමු හිටවනේ මේ ඇවිල්ලා මේ තුන්වෙනි කන තමයි පණුව.
Farmers lament that agrarian officers have turned a blind eye to their problems.
And with that, we wrap up primetime news here on TV1. For more news, log on to our award-winning website, that is www.newsfirst.lk. For the Newsfirst team, I'm David Paldano. I would also like to thank our sign interpreter for tonight, Brian De Cruz, who's joining us via Zoom. Take care and good night.